Samadhi leads to enlightenment and liberation in several ways. Samadhi enhances the insight aspect of the practice. It can empty us and it can fill us. And Samadhi has a powerful purification effect. You will sometimes hear people say that Samadhi detracts from or diminishes insight. If you recall from a previous session, one of the ways in which an undistracted mind can develop was called one-pointedness or exclusive samadhi. In this style of samadhi, your awareness becomes more and more narrowly focused, and you lose connection or awareness with the broader range of experiences that can happen. Since insight practice aims to have you connect with the process and the experience of changing phenomena, you can see why people feel that if you were to get too narrowly focused, you will lose that connection and therefore unable to do insight kind of practices. But in fact, samadhi leads to precisely the opposite effect. Anyone who has cultivated meditation knows that as the samadhi deepens, your awareness becomes more enhanced, your perceptions are magnified and become more subtle, and you become more and more aware perhaps than ever, of the entire range of your experience. And so even if you don't make a point to purposely look towards and do insight types of practices, if you're not specifically looking for the fact of change accompanying any experience, you will naturally know if anything is happening on your body, you know it. If anything occurring in the mind, emotions, moods, thoughts, you are aware of it. So samadhi has a natural magnifying effect, an enhanced effect. It enhances connection rather than disconnects. So that's the one aspect of samadhi. And the way I'm offering samadhi practice here in the practice discussion side of this series is we want to develop the unification of mind that rather than being so narrowly focused is more open and wide and inclusive. Samadhi can have an effect of emptying us out. As our minds begin to settle and become more quiet and stable, a lot of the agitation in the mind settles out. The thinking process tends to settle out. The arising of various moods and emotions settles out. We come into a place of stillness, but it's not a stillness in which nothing is happening. It's a stillness in which our perception is heightened and becomes very, very clear. Our pure awareness and the knowing of what happens become clear, but it's in a steady, quieter place. So in this way, the practice feels like we've become more emptied out, but it's emptied out a lot of the noise and agitation that tends to fill so much of our consciousness. Samadhi can have an effect of filling us, but rather than filling with a lot of the noise and the agitation, we become filled with a happiness, a joy, the awareness of pure consciousness, and a heightened sense of presence tends to fill our consciousness. A calm and equanimity that we're very, very aware of. So we get filled with more helpful and supportive qualities, and we get emptied out with a lot of the distracting qualities. Samadhi also has a strong purification effect. The insight side of the practice is important for purification, but simply by virtue of touching into and cultivating states of samadhi, there is a purification effect just by the fact of the deepening samadhi itself. I'll use an analogy. And I'm not sure if this is exactly how the process works, but I think this analogy will work for purifying gold. If you can imagine putting gold in a cauldron and you heat it, and by heating it, it melts. And then in this analogy, if there are purifications, the idea is that the purifications float to the surface and can be skimmed away. So at first, the gold is beautiful and it's shining. And then as the purifications rise to the surface, it clouds over. We've lost the beauty, and it's a darker color. We skim off then the impurities that are available to us to remove, and now we have the pure shining gold again, but it's at a heightened level of purity. And we continue the process, and at some point, a subtler level, another level of impurities can arise, float to the surface. Again, we've lost the beauty, but then we can skim off the impurities and we're back to the shining gold. So in this cycle of purifying gold, we go through a beauty and then a time that is not beauty and beautiful and covered over. Similarly, in our experience, we go through cycles of purity and purification. And so Samadhi can open us to places that are blissful, open our hearts in love, many, many wholesome and beautiful qualities that we will cultivate. That's the part of the cycle of purity. Then when the inevitable purification comes, it can feel like we've lost something. But in fact, you haven't. This is the natural progression. And when difficulties, when old patterns come up, anything that needs to be worked through reveals itself, then we bring in the insight aspect of the practice to work with these challenges and difficulties. It's like skimming off the impurities, and then we're back to the pure shining gold again. So in this way, we move through cycles of purity and purification. Samadhi in this way has the effect of shifting our set points. We all have set points for all aspects of our lives. How happy or unhappy we are, it of course changes all the time, and we move up and down around the set point, but we tend to have a set point, our normal standard way that we are for that. We have set points in how reactive we are in any situation versus how non-reactive we are, how much our hearts are open versus closed off. We all have the set points, and again, we tend to oscillate or move up and down around those depending on circumstances. And so Samadhi has the effect, the liberating effect of moving our set point, you could say moving up or bringing it down, settling it out in a better and better place.